The emergency beacon pierced through the static at 0300 hours, dragging Dr. Amara Osei from her bunk at the Kepler 442 research station. The message was garbled, barely coherent. Something about a lone figure collapsed near the eastern perimeter. Amara pulled on her thermal suit and grabbed her medkit, her heart hammering. In 3 years stationed on this frozen moon, they'd never encountered intelligent life. Now apparently that had changed. The alien woman lay crumpled in the snow like a broken bird. Humanoid, yes, 2 arms, 2 legs, a face that could almost pass for human in dim light. But her skin shimmered with an iridescent quality, shifting between silver and deep violet. Her eyes, when they fluttered open, were entirely black. No whites, no iris, just endless depth. "Please!" the woman gasped through the translation collar they'd managed to fit around her neck. The device struggled with her language, producing awkward, stilted English. "Help! Cannot. The burning." Back at the medical bay, Amara ran every scan in their limited arsenal. X-rays showed a skeletal structure remarkably similar to human anatomy. Thermal imaging revealed hot spots throughout her body, concentrated nodes of energy that pulsed like tiny suns beneath her skin. But nothing explained the obvious agony etched across her alien features. "Her vitals are stable," Amara reported to Commander Torres through the comm. "But she's clearly suffering. I don't know what I'm looking at here." The alien woman, who'd given her name as something the translator rendered as Vesper, spent the next day curled on the medical cot, trembling. She wouldn't eat, wouldn't drink, just lay there, her body rigid with tension, occasionally letting out small sounds of distress that needed no translation. On the second night, Amara stayed late in the medical bay, reviewing scans for the 100th time. She didn't notice when Vesper's eyes opened, watching her with desperate intensity. You care," Vesper whispered, her voice clearer now as the translator adapted. "Why do you care? I am nothing to you." Amara turned, surprised by the rawness in those words. "Because you're hurting, that's reason enough." Something flickered across Vesper's face, an emotion Amara couldn't quite read. The alien woman shifted, wincing, and for a moment seemed to be gathering courage. "There is a way to help." Vesper's fingers traced patterns on her own forearm, pressing into muscle tissue. "My people have touch therapy, manual pressure. The energy clusters must be released." Amara frowned. "Like a massage?" "Similar, but deeper. More..." Vesper struggled with the words. "Intimate, invasive. You would need to touch me, extensively." The request hung in the air between them. Outside, the alien moon's winds howled against the station walls. Amara studied Vesper's face, the vulnerability there, the fear of rejection. "Show me how," Amara said softly. The next morning, Amara set up a private room away from the main medical bay. She told Commander Torres only that she was attempting a non-invasive therapeutic technique. No need to mention how much it felt like crossing a professional line, or maybe a species line. Vesper entered slowly, her movements still careful and pained. She wore only a thin medical gown that revealed the strange bioluminescent patterns beneath her skin, pathways of energy that pulsed with each heartbeat. "You need to understand," Vesper said, settling onto the padded table. "For my people, this touch is significant. We do not allow casual contact. The energy transfer is," she paused, searching for words, "vulnerable. You will feel what I feel." Amara swallowed hard. "I understand." "I do not think you do, but I am grateful nonetheless." Vesper lay back, guiding Amara's hands to the first cluster, a knot of tension just below her ribcage. The moment Amara's fingers made contact, she gasped. Heat flooded through her palms, and with it came an overwhelming rush of sensation. Pain, yes, but beneath it something else. Loneliness, abandonment. Fear so deep it had its own weight. "Press harder," Vesper instructed, her voice strained. You must break through the barrier. Amara applied pressure, feeling the alien muscle tissue resist, then slowly yield. The energy node pulsed beneath her fingers like a second heartbeat. As she worked, following Vesper's quiet directions, the alien woman began to relax by degrees. There, Vesper breathed. The upper back, between the shoulder blades, that is where they left me. Amara's hands moved to the indicated spot. The knot there was massive, iron-hard. As she pressed into it, Vesper's body arched, and through their contact, Amara felt the memory, a ship leaving. Vesper on her knees, too weak to stand, watching her own people abandon her because she'd become a burden. The pain of betrayal ran deeper than any physical agony. They thought I was dying, Vesper whispered. Perhaps they hoped I was. I'm so sorry, Amara murmured, continuing to work the tension. Her hands moved with increasing confidence now, learning the landscape of Vesper's pain. As the treatment continued, something shifted. The therapeutic touch became something more, a conversation without words, a sharing of warmth and trust. When Amara's fingers found a particularly sensitive cluster along Vesper's spine, the alien woman made a sound that was half relief, half something else entirely. Is this okay? Amara asked, suddenly aware of how intimate the moment had become. Vesper turned her head, catching Amara's gaze. Those black eyes held depths Amara was only beginning to understand. More than okay. I have never. Not like this. What do you mean? My people, we are efficient, clinical. What you do, you touch with care, with presence, as if I matter. Amara's throat tightened. You do matter. The session lasted 2 hours. By the end, Vesper's skin had lost its feverish glow, the energy patterns settling into gentle, steady rhythms. She sat up slowly, moving without pain for the first time since her arrival. But when their eyes met, both women knew something irreversible had occurred. A boundary had been crossed, not broken, but transformed into something neither of them had anticipated. Over the following week, the treatments became a daily ritual. Amara would close the medical bay door, dim the lights, and spend hours mapping the complex network of energy nodes throughout Vesper's body. Each session revealed more about the alien's physiology and more about her soul. Tell me about your world, Amara said one evening, her hands working along Vesper's lower back. Vesper was quiet for a long moment. Karath, that is what we call it. 3 moons, all larger than this one. Our cities float on crystalline platforms above methane seas. Beautiful, but... She paused. Cold. My people prize logic above all else. Efficiency. Survival. No room for compassion? Compassion is seen as weakness, inefficiency. Vesper's voice carried old hurt. When the colony evacuation came, they calculated that treating me would consume too many resources. The logical choice was abandonment. Amara's hands stilled. That's monstrous. Is it? Your own species has a history of similar calculations. We're trying to be better than our history. Perhaps that is why. Vesper caught her breath as Amara's fingers found a particularly sensitive spot. Why being here feels so different. The treatments had become more than medical necessity. Amara found herself looking forward to them, to the quiet intimacy of the dimmed room and the warmth of Vesper's skin beneath her hands. The alien's body was becoming familiar territory, the curve of her shoulders, the dip of her spine, the sensitive spots that made her breath hitch. One night, as Amara worked on a stubborn cluster near Vesper's hip, the alien woman caught her wrist gently. Wait, Vesper said softly. Amara froze, worried she'd hurt her. What's wrong? Nothing is wrong. That is the problem. Vesper turned onto her side, facing Amara directly. This treatment, it is meant to be purely functional, but I find myself hoping you will stay longer, wishing for more touch than is medically necessary. Amara's heart hammered. Vesper. Among my people, such feelings would be shameful, illogical. But here, with you. Vesper's hand, still holding Amara's wrist, trembled slightly. I do not wish to feel shame. The air between them felt charged, electric. Amara knew she should maintain professional distance, should cite protocols and ethics and the 1,000 reasons why this was complicated. Instead, she found herself leaning closer. I don't want you to feel shame, Amara whispered. I look forward to these sessions too, more than I should. Vesper's free hand rose slowly, tentatively, to touch Amara's face. Her fingers were warm, and where they made contact, Amara felt that same rush of connection, emotions flowing both ways now. She felt Vesper's longing, her fear of rejection, her desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, she'd found something worth staying for. May I... Vesper's voice was barely audible. May I kiss you? Is that something humans? Yes, Amara breathed. Yes, we do. The kiss was gentle at first, exploratory, uncertain. Vesper's lips were softer than Amara expected, and warmer. The bioluminescent patterns beneath her skin flared brighter, pulsing in rhythm with her quickening heartbeat. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathing hard. I should not want this, Vesper murmured against Amara's mouth. It defies everything I was taught. Good, Amara replied, her hands sliding up to cup Vesper's face. Maybe what you were taught was wrong. They kissed again, deeper this time, and Amara felt the last of her professional reservations dissolve. This wasn't just about treating pain anymore. This was about healing, the kind that came from being seen, being valued, being held when you'd been left behind by everyone else. The next treatment session began like the others, but the energy between them had fundamentally changed. When Amara's hands touched Vesper's skin now, it was with open acknowledgement of what was growing between them, something that transcended the therapeutic, that ventured into territory neither had anticipated. The pain is almost gone, Vesper admitted, lying face down on the medical table. I should not need much more treatment. Amara's hands stilled on Vesper's shoulders. Oh. But I find myself inventing reasons to continue. Vesper turned her head, catching Amara's gaze. Is that wrong of me? Only if it's wrong of me to hope you do. This time, when their lips met, there was no hesitation. Amara felt Vesper's hands pull her closer, felt the heat of that alien body against her own. The bioluminescent patterns flared brilliant beneath Vesper's skin, painting both of them in shimmering light. Among my people, Vesper whispered between kisses, energy transfer during intimacy is, she struggled for words, profound. You would feel everything, all of me. I want that, Amara said, surprising herself with the certainty in her voice. Show me. What followed was unlike anything Amara had experienced. As their intimacy deepened, as clothing fell away and skin met skin, she felt the full force of the connection Vesper had described. It was overwhelming, not just physical sensation but emotional resonance. She felt Vesper's joy, her relief, her wonder at being touched with tenderness rather than clinical detachment. And Vesper, in turn, felt Amara's responses. Her desire, yes, but also her protective instinct, her genuine care, her own loneliness on this remote station, finally finding an answer in the most unexpected of places. Afterward, they lay tangled together in the dim medical bay, Vesper's head resting on Amara's chest. The patterns beneath her skin had settled into a soft, steady glow, the most peaceful Amara had ever seen them. I cannot go back, Vesper said quietly. Even if my people came for me now, I could not return to that coldness, not after knowing this. Amara's arms tightened around her. Then don't. Stay here with me. It is not that simple. I have no status here, no rights. I am technically a refugee or perhaps a specimen to be studied. We'll figure it out, Amara insisted. I'll talk to Commander Torres. There has to be a way. The medical bay door chimed. Both women froze. "Dr. Osei?" Commander Torres's voice came through the intercom. "We need to discuss your patient. We've received a transmission." Amara's blood ran cold. A transmission from whom? Vesper's people. They're coming back for her. The Situation Room was tense. Commander Torres stood at the display showing the incoming vessel, a Carathian cruiser, much larger than their research station. Amara stood beside Vesper, their fingers intertwined in a gesture that said more than words could. "They've requested the return of their lost crew member," Torres said, his expression carefully neutral. "Technically, we have no grounds to refuse. We're in their space, after all." "I will not go," Vesper stated simply. Torres turned to her. "With all respect, I'm not sure you have that choice. Interstellar law." "Interstellar law also covers asylum," Amara interrupted. "If Vesper was abandoned to die, if returning poses a threat to her well-being." "We don't know that it does. For all we know, the abandonment was a misunderstanding." "It was not," Vesper said firmly. "I was deemed inefficient, a burden. They left me consciously, deliberately." Through the viewport, the Carathian ship grew larger. Amara felt Vesper's hand trembling in hers and squeezed back, a silent promise. The Carathian delegation arrived an hour later. 3 tall figures in environmental suits, their body language rigid and formal. Their spokesman, the translator rendered his name as Corthian, barely glanced at Vesper before addressing Torres. "We appreciate your care of our crew member. The evacuation was chaotic. Regrettable that Vesper 7 was left behind." "Vesper 7? Amara couldn't help her sharp tone. "She has a name." Corthian finally looked at her, those black eyes unreadable. "Designation and name are synonymous in our culture. We are here to retrieve her and compensate you for medical costs incurred." "I decline retrieval," Vesper said, her voice steady despite her trembling. "I claim asylum under human protection." A long silence. The other Carathians exchanged glances, the first sign of any emotional response Amara had seen from them. "That is unprecedented," Corthian said slowly. "Why would you choose to remain among aliens?" "Because these aliens treated me with more compassion than my own kind ever did." Vesper stepped forward, releasing Amara's hand but standing tall. "You left me to die because healing me was inefficient. But Dr. Osei spent hours every day restoring my health, not because it was efficient, but because she cared." "Emotional reasoning is not weakness," Vesper interrupted, a new strength in her voice. "Your calculations failed to account for the value of empathy, of connection. You measured resources, but not worth. And in doing so, you lost me. Not because you left me behind, but because you showed me what you truly are. Cold, logical, empty." Corthian was silent for a long moment. Then, "If you stay, you cannot return. Your citizenship will be revoked. You will be considered dead to Karath." "I have been dead to Karath since you left me in the snow," Vesper replied. "The difference is, here I have been allowed to live again." The Carathians departed without ceremony. Torres waited until their ship was clear before turning to Vesper with a slight smile. "Congratulations. You're officially the first alien refugee we've ever granted asylum to. This is going to create about 1,000 diplomatic headaches." "I apologize for the inconvenience," Vesper said, though her relief was palpable. "Don't. You made the right call, both of you." Torres's knowing look at Amara made her flush. "Just keep the medical bay incidents professional going forward, yeah?" Alone again, Amara and Vesper stood by the viewport, watching the Carathian ship disappear into the stars. "What happens now?" Vesper asked softly. "Now, we figure it out together." Amara took her hand again. "It won't be easy. There will be questions, bureaucracy, probably some very awkward conversations with Earth Command. But you're staying. That's what matters. Vesper turned, and in the starlight, her bioluminescent patterns glowed soft and steady. No longer in pain, no longer fighting to survive, but simply alive. I was abandoned by my own kind and saved by another, she said quietly. Perhaps that is the true first contact, not between species, but between individuals who choose to see each other. 3 months later, Earth Command arrived to establish formal relations with the Carathian people. The ambassador was surprised to find a Carathian already at the research station, one who'd chosen to stay, who'd helped draft new protocols for interspecies cooperation, who'd shown that compassion could build bridges where logic alone could not. And in the medical bay, late at night, Dr. Amara Osei continued her treatments, no longer necessary for pain, but maintained anyway. Because some connections, once formed, deserved to be nurtured. Because touch between individuals who'd chosen each other carried its own healing power. Because sometimes the most alien thing you can do is choose love over logic, presence over efficiency, staying over leaving. And sometimes that choice changes everything.